Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
time for the In the Queue podcast with DJ Greggy C, Greg Curran, and David Hanscom. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube Live. Just search for In the Queue podcast or go to inthequeuepodcast.com. Please like our show and share this broadcast to show your support and pass on the good karma to help educate everyone how to be the best entertainer they can be. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and get notified when we go live, which is every Monday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And now, let's hear it for DJ Greggy C. and David Hanscom.
Well, it's not David tonight. It is it's
Vince.
It's Spinning Vince as our co-host. So welcome everybody to In the Queue podcast. David is indisposed tonight. He's the busiest guy in show business. He works a lot, and he's working tonight. He's got a special hybrid event he's working. Who knows? Maybe he can join in from his cell phone or wherever. So
That would be awesome.
Yeah. We'll see. So for
That'll
those
be a first.
For those that don't know, this is Spinning Vince, aka Visual Vince or Vinny Pisick. He was on our first. You were on our first season, weren't you?
I was on the first show of season 2.
First show of season
with
2.
a
Okay.
female DJ. I forget her name.
Oh, okay. Huh. Interesting.
It was an older girl, and not like real young. What's her name?
I don't know. I don't remember what I had for breakfast, let alone who was on season 1 of my show. My friend.
Well, you haven't had many female DJs, so
We had Jess on.
yeah, I think it was Jess.
Wait, no, Jess was. I don't think Jess was on with you. Maybe I don't know. But anyway,
Either way,
either way, you are here. You're filling in for good old.
we got a
Good old
double
David
shot of Philly
Hanson.
tonight. No Florida tonight.
We miss we miss our buddy Dave. Hopefully he's got a safe, fun time tonight. He makes a lot of money. So
Absolutely, make up for the past.
yeah. So look, guys. If you're part of our live studio audience, you're watching on YouTube, you're watching on Facebook, but you can also catch us on all the replays on Spotify, on Google Play Podcasts, on Apple Podcasts. So, and any of your major podcast networks, all you got to do is subscribe to In the Queue, and they'll pop in as we do them.
All of them. That's right.
Yeah. So, but with that said, please don't forget to like our show, no matter what media it's on, Facebook or podcast or
And don't forget to drop us some comments in the comment box.
Oh, always drop us some comment, like good old Andrew Rothman, Philly DJ1 checking in. Hello, Andrew. How are you? So yeah, drop a comment, even if it's something to make fun of Vince or our guests or whatever. And please hit the like button or the heart or whatever they have on there.
Make fun of our team.
It helps us. It benefits. And then finally, look, if you like what you hear and you want to get notified, subscribe to the channel. And you'll get notified of our
Welcome to the
future
digital
broadcast.
age. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It just comes out 5 minutes before 8 o'clock. Right to your cell phone.
Right to your cell phone. It works great. It does. It does. Yeah. Look, 2 weeks ago, was it 2 weeks ago? Yeah, we had DJ Milk D was on our show. And we like to have aspiring DJs, those DJs that are climbing the ladder, that are just shooting for the stars. We love that, or any type of entertainer, love to have that on. So shout out to Milk D and Yerp Radio. That's Y, 3 R's and a P. Y, right? RRR UP. That's it. UP. Yerp Radio. So good shout out to him, and thank you for being a fan of the show, following us and
Absolutely. What a great guest he was.
yeah. Well, and you know what? The week prior, or right after Milk, because we had the week off, because of some situations, that was Chase Jewel, one of our other sponsors. Chase is from ProMobileDJ.com. There you go. If you look right up there, he's part of the. Yeah, there you go. He's part of the banner. And Chase got a lot of information on how to become a better DJ entertainer on his site. It's really a bunch of information and a bunch of posts, and they just constantly, bang them out.
It's just information.
Yeah, myself, David, Jess, DJ Jess. She's also a writer. Stu Chisholm, another writer. They have past writers, future writers, but check them out. ProMobileDJ.com. All right, guys. Enough about what happened before. Let's talk about what's happening. The present in this week. And we're going to talk about, and it's something that's true to my heart. because it's very important, especially in the wedding industry, and we're going to be hovering in the wedding industry.
That's
But
where
we're
we
going to
make
be
our
talking
money,
about
big bucks.
professionalism, being a pro, being professional, and what that actually means, being a pro. And one of our guests, no pun intended, being a pro, is the owner and CEO of the Pros Weddings and Wedding Bug Studios. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. So it's Hugh Riley. Hugh began his career as a pros DJ in the mid 1980s. He became a manager soon after, and he worked his way up to vice president, overseeing over 100 major cities in the United States and Canada. From 2005 to 2012, he shot wedding photography and videography while also DJing 50 weddings a year. Wow, I thought Dave was busy. In 2012,
only 50?
Only 50. We'll ask him about that. In 2012, he retired from DJing and continued as a photographer and videographer. In 2019, he bought the Pros Weddings and Wedding Bug Studios with two partners. His 28 years of experience as a wedding DJ, along with his continuation of photography and videographer, gives him a unique perspective to keep up on the trends in the DJ industry, because he spends every wedding watching a wide variety of professional wedding DJs. He sees them do their stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please, a nice big round of applause for our guest tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, Mr. Hugh Riley. Yay!
Hello, gentlemen.
Hello, Hugh. How are you?
Good evening, King.
Doing
Put
well.
you up on the main board.
Yeah.
So, the bio kind of hit who you were, Hugh. But I mean, basically, you've been a DJ for how many years have you been a DJ? Since the 80s?
Well, July 1st, 1984 is my first gig.
Wow.
Last one was November of 2012-ish, somewhere around Thanksgiving. Each year I did anywhere from, I don't know, 25 to 100 weddings.
Okay.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, and virtually every catering hall in New Jersey, New York, a little bit in Philadelphia here and there, but
Delaware.
Yeah, it's many years.
Okay. And it also then, what evolved first? Was it photography or videography?
I started doing videography in '97.
Okay.
And then I was doing video and DJ for a number of years, and added photo in 2005. So from 2005 to 2012, I was either DJing a wedding, videotaping a wedding, or shooting photography for a wedding. And frankly, the big concern I always had was leaving the house and looking behind me to see what equipment I had to make sure I had the right equipment for that event. Could you imagine showing up as the DJ and having your photo equipment? It just wouldn't work.
So did that ever happen?
It never happened.
Thank God.
I got into a habit of looking in my trunk before I left, just in case.
Just a moment, guys. So Hugh,
Yeah.
You just told the folks out there that you are a DJ, a videographer, and a photographer.
Mm-hmm.
So the perspective that you have on this industry is amazing, because you get to see all three sides of what are the major parts of the wedding industry, as far as, photo booth, but as far as running the show and being involved with the bridal party and the guests. And that's amazing that you can bring that to whoever you talk to. I mean, you share with. It's a wonderful tool you have.
Yeah, I think the value in what I'm doing is I'm standing on the dance floor every weekend watching DJs from all over the state, and all over the tri-state for that matter. I've seen very high-end DJs. I've also seen brand new guys and women. Maybe not doing their first gig, but knowing that they're not quite a veteran yet. And I've seen it all. The low price, high price, the super high price, the in the middle. I've seen it all, and I get a chance to. And look, DJ never leaves you. So there are times when I want to walk over to the DJ and say, play this song, or do the wobble or something. Play a slow dance.
Yeah, you haven't played a slow song in an hour.
Yeah. I mean, you never lose that. And even though I'm focused on the photography or videography, you're still watching the DJ. So, yeah.
All right. Well, look, let's jump right into professionalism. Right before I do, though, I put up an underneath you, Hugh, and for those watching on our live studio audience, the website www.thepros.com. That is the website for the pros weddings. They are constantly recruiting for disc jockeys across the entire nation. Am I correct?
That's correct. 50 major cities right now.
50 major cities across the United States. Okay. All right. Excellent. So if you're interested, what we want you guys to do, whether you're like part of the live audience, go there now. If you're interested in finding out more about the pros, or if you're listening on one of our podcast networks, it's www.thepros.com. Scroll down to the bottom of the page, and right there you will see a join us link. Does it say join us or okay?
Exactly. It says join us. Yeah.
Join us. All right, cool. And that's where you can get more information. And more than likely, Hugh will be contacting you or one of his associates.
I will probably be the person. Yes, absolutely.
All right, cool. So this way, look, you can get some extra work, and it's great that when you're not working one weekend, instead of sitting home or going out yourself and spending money, why don't you pick up a gig and make some extra bucks on your own? So that's what I want.
Greg, not to stop you, but they also do photo booth. And a lot of DJs do photo booth as well. So,
okay. Well, yeah, and true. And we have photo booth operators that listed, and also photographers and videographers. So
yeah, well, absolutely.
Videographer, photo booth operator. Hell, if you're a stripper, just give Hugh a call. No. thepros.com. And sign down to the bottom. So look, yes, DJs, videographers, photographers, photo booth operators. They're looking for great people. So, all right. With that said, Hugh, like I said, I wanted to jump into it. What is a professional DJ? How would you describe a professional DJ?
What's a professional DJ? Well, I think there's a whole lot to that question.
Yes.
It can be more of a visual. What your equipment looks like, what your setup is, what your speakers look like. Are they ratty? Are they brand new? Are they beautiful? Are they
bullet points?
Scratchy? All of that plays a role in this. If you have torn up or scratchy speakers, it just doesn't look professional. You've got to keep them clean. Having a facade is so important today because you'll never make it to that DJ website of bad DJ equipment because
absolutely.
Bad DJ setups.
Bad DJ setups. Okay.
It's amazing what 100 hours can do.
Having a facade is very important. Having a great wireless microphone. There's nothing worse than a microphone that you turn on and bring the volume up and then it feeds back. You're gone. You're done at that point. If you're ready to make that first impression by walking out to the dance floor to do the bridal introductions, and you turn on your mic and you go to walk out and it goes, and you have to go back and fix it.
So you're saying in other words, if I just got in trouble on a Facebook group, and I don't open my mouth much, but somebody was recommending a cheap mic to a DJ that was brand new. I opened my mouth and I said, the thing will probably work 25 feet from the base if you're lucky. It's a Nady, N-A-D-Y. Not talking bad about anything, but their mixers are $10, and their microphones are probably less than $100.
Right. I'll give you another great reason why you need a good wireless mic. You're going to walk that mic over to the bridal party table and hand it to the best man. If that wireless microphone cuts out, everybody turns to you.
Yep.
What's going on? So you have to have a great mic just for that reason.
It should go at least 100 feet.
You've got the feedback issue and the breakup issue, so you got to make sure you have a really good mic. And really the sound of the mic, the clarity of it and the fullness of it is really important as well. That's really your bridal introductions is really your first moment to show everybody what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's your first moment for people to recognize whether or not you're a professional or not. And you grab that mic and you go out there and you have the music bed behind you. You get out to the dance floor. And if your voice is booming and clear and everybody can understand, exactly what you're saying, you'll command that audience. If you go out there and your microphone is muddy and breaking up, people will look at you and say, "What? What is he saying? Well, who is
this? Too much reverb or echo, or you're not set properly. Just not set properly."
So that to me, that's a big key. That and having good speakers. Everything else, have a facade, have great speakers, a good microphone, and frankly, I don't care what else you have. What else
Absolutely.
board you use or whatever.
So basically, don't be cheap and spend a few $100s on your microphone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's huge.
Like that.
All right. And these speakers, and I know what you're talking about speakers. We talked about a few guys and we checked them out, but nowadays, I mean, look, I rep Peavy, or any of these other brands, that are name brand, go out and get, your QSCs, your EVs, your JBLs. They're all professional. Hell, Bass Boss is another one, friends of the show. All of these are great brands, but don't, and I repeat, don't go to Amazon and get a Chinese generic no-name brand speaker that has an MP3 player in it. It has a coffee maker in it. I mean, Christ, what? It's got all these things in it that you don't need, and it's only $99.99.
Yeah.
I see these DJs that are out there that have this cheap stuff, and to them it's economically okay, but to professionals, it sounds like crap, especially when they don't know how to tune it in. Now, I can go out on a limb and I could say, look, for those guys that are trained properly, you can take kind of a crappy system and make it sound okay with good equalization, but it's not going to save you. It's like putting a Band-Aid on a severe wound.
Now, Greggy, you want to keep it simple. Frankly, I get lost in EQing things. So, if you have a good speaker, you don't have to do anything.
Right.
And that's key, because the other thing is you don't want distortion in your music. You want a nice low end, you want a nice high, nice mid range.
Yes, sir.
You want it to sound great, because again, remember the cheap speaker is also going to sound thin and distorted. So and it'll hurt your ears. People on the dance floor will be like, "Geez, that just doesn't."
Yeah, I mean, don't play your music too loud.
Yeah, look, if you have a good speaker and it's loud, for whatever reason, I don't know the technical reason why, it just kind of disperses the sound. You don't necessarily think it's really right? It's not a piercing, awful sound. So again, those are the two things, along with the facade, are the three things that I would certainly invest in.
Okay.
You're in for a long night when you get that DJ who has that microphone who's breaking up all over the place when he's doing the intros.
Right.
And okay, this is how this night's going to go.
Look, you mentioned facade, Hugh. How about the? I see a lot of guys. It's a trend, and we're going to move right on the trends after I talk about this. But how about those scrims?
Hey, back off your mic a little bit.
How about the scrims for your speaker stand?
Yeah, I think those are worth having. I think they look nice. I think they make your equipment look more sleek.
Okay.
I think that's a really good investment as well.
Okay. Now David actually has this really sweet, and no facade needed, because really you can't keep anything under your table. It's a T-stand. Literally,
it's beautiful. I've seen a couple of guys with those. I think that's another great idea. If you're really going to swing the other way, that's where you want to be.
Look, our friends at the Senate DJs, they make them, SenateDJs.com. Also, one of our sponsors here, Gabriel from ProX, His logo's right above Huey there and right above my corner, if you could see it. So it's ProX Equipment and Gear. They have the same exact thing. Look, they're not cheap. You're going to spend some money, but it is professional. It's great looking. And yeah. So let's move right on to trends, Hugh. Trends in the industry. What are some things that you're seeing out there? Trends like here's what I remember from my 30 years in this. I remember the good old chocolate fountains. Remember those?
Oh, they're still out there.
Yeah, they're still out there occasionally.
It wasn't a DJ trend, but it was a trend. You know,
It was.
Here's a trend that went away that you don't see, and I just like saying it for nostalgia. You know, you used to get matchbooks at every seating at your wedding. So every wedding had these matchbooks with the bride and groom's name on it.
Yeah,
Remember
matches.
that? Do you remember?
Right? Matches.
I had a million.
Well, if they didn't have matches, they would have empty pieces of paper in there, and 90% of the people never knew what that was for. Do you remember the matchbooks that had paper slots in there? Do you remember them?
I remember that.
Do you know what they were for?
No idea.
You're seeing people that you haven't seen in a while, and it's
Little
to get
notes.
because we didn't have cell phones. It's to get their information. It's to get a phone number.
Right, a phone number. It was big enough to get a phone number.
Right, it was just big enough to get a name and a phone number.
Correct.
So when Aunt
It's like a
Doris was there, or cousin Johnny,
little mini book.
right? And you know what? It was next to those mints that I love. Those little almond mints they would have
Yep.
in a bag. But they were trends at weddings that you would see. Huey, what are you seeing out there now? We listed a bunch, but let's go down them and talk about them.
Yeah, I think the big trends today are things that are really hot or people are buying. One would be the dancing on the cloud.
Okay.
So having the fog machine and using that during the first dance is big. It's still big.
It's big. It's beautiful, but it can come into problems if you do it wrong. Just like a cheap cordless microphone, you get a cheap dancing on the cloud machine that has ice and it has oil based. It's not water based. It's got to be, if it's oil based, it's going to set off those smoke detectors. You're going to be in trouble.
It's going to leave residue on the dance floor.
Residue on the dance floor. You need to get water based, and if all else, you know, if you don't use ice. If you have to use something, use dry ice. Go out there and spend some money on some dry ice. It'll keep it down on the bottom. And since it's water-based, it will dissipate before it even rises up, and it won't fog your room out. But
either buy the best or don't buy it at all.
It's awesome. Just when you do your looking out there, make sure you get a dry ice machine. We've had some problems in the past with those, just because of the fact that we've cleared out the place because the smoke detectors. So.
Absolutely.
All right, we got
So in terms of add-ons, right? You've got the dancing on the cloud, and the other would be the sparklers. What are they called?
cold sparks. Cold sparks. Yes.
Cold sparks. You need
Cold sparklers.
Yeah, wherever the bride and groom might be entering the room, if they're coming down a staircase, you have them on each side. Or you line them up in front of your DJ equipment and
first dance.
Now, hold on.
Right, during the first dance.
Yep. A good buy shot.
I hate to be that guy, but did you ever use them?
I have never used them. No.
Have you ever been in a room where they were when you were a photographer or videographer?
Yes, I have.
A million times. Sure.
Did you notice the little black dust that accumulates on the floor or on your equipment or on the table when it goes up?
No, I didn't notice.
No,
Okay.
I didn't notice
Is that
that.
what happens?
We had them in one of our clubs. And one of the top mixers out there right now, I guess the S11, $1,600 for this mixer. Those little, I would call it dust because it's magnesium, burnt magnesium. Because when it goes up, it's magnesium that's burning. It's going, psh, like a sparkler. But that dust that creates fell inside of the mixer, and as you moved your channel fader up and down, it started to be and cause
you know what, Greggy? I do know what you're talking about now.
Oh, I mean,
I have seen that on my mixer.
I've got two mixers behind me that when stuff
silver
goes
mixer.
bad at the clubs, I take them and it's like, here, you want to try and clean them out? There's no cleaning them out. They're really, but be careful. That really what they're doing now, and I can guarantee you what's going to happen within the next year is you're going to be seeing those cold sparks come out with a clear plastic tube coming right down. Because the other thing that you will see, and it's viral out there, it's on Facebook, It's a cold spark machine that everybody says, oh, it's not going to cause a fire. It lit a banquet hall on fire.
Whoa.
And what I mean by lighting a banquet hall on fire, if you look at the video real carefully, it's a bunch of really, really, really thin paper mache. And with paper mache, you hold your hand over one of them, you could get burned a little bit. But with paper mache, that it's very flammable. And that's exactly what caught fire on the roof. And you know, when you're on Facebook and you see this, but just be careful with it. But here's the one thing that we discussed earlier in the green room that I love, and it's a trend. We talked about slow music, right? Playing slow songs, or what are these guys doing?
Well, you know, I mean, we talked about, you know, we just covered the idea of what's hot from an add-on perspective. Okay. And by the way, to get back to the sparklers, it is an impressive,
very impressive.
I can completely understand why brides and grooms would buy it. Right. And I think it is well worth, you know, the excitement, because you're not just doing it for the first dance. You periodically do it while people are dancing, and it's
absolutely,
you know, really cool.
My current video demo has the cloud throughout the whole night. It looks awesome on the video.
Right.
And they had the sparklers send off at the end.
So, but I want to talk about trends that DJs are that I'm seeing a lot of DJs doing or not doing.
Okay.
Greg, you touched upon the first one.
Mm-hmm.
For one reason or 1,000, I'm not seeing DJs play slow music with any regularity. Wow. Now, I'll give you a quick story. I was at a wedding down in, I think, in Lucian's down in South Jersey, or Cherry Hill, right? Isn't that?
That's
Lucian?
Berlin.
Berlin.
Yep. The White Horse Pike.
Great. Look, high-end DJ coming. There's like 4 or 5 guys that came. They set the whole thing up. They had the expensive intelligent lights. They had the sparklers. They had the facade. They had, you know, everything. Great MC. Came out and did a wonderful job, really personable, very enthusiastic. Guy to play the music, another guy to watch him play the music, a third guy to hold the button for the sparklers. I mean, they had a whole crew. And the beginning of the night was great. I mean, everybody got out and danced, and the dance floor was just blasting for a while. And then I guess people sat down for dinner, and really the rest of the night seemed like an attempt to try to get back to that moment, and it never got back to that moment. You know, it would always be kind of a trickling of people on the dance floor, and maybe there'd be a group of people over here, and, you know, maybe it got sort of half full, and then it would dwindle, and it just never got back. And at the end of the night, I said, you know what? What is wrong here? There's just something that's not right. And then it dawned on me as they were playing the last dance. I said, this guy didn't play one slow dance.
Oh my goodness!
Give me one. And, you know, and at about 15 minutes before the end of the party, I kind of looked around the room and I saw every table that had someone over 40 or 50 was gone. They were out of the room. They were done. They went home. And it was just some of the younger people and the parents who are obviously...
And the bridal party, right?
Yeah, and the bridal party. And the parents who feel kind of obligated to get out there and dance. They may not know what the music is, but they're out there.
It's my daughter's wedding. Hey, I got to go dance.
The idea here was that at no point did the DJ use the slow dance to bring people to the dance floor. I spent 28 years doing that.
No ebb and flow.
And, you know, and people would always say, well, did you have good parties and bad parties? And I'd say, I don't know. They all kind of went the same way. You know, I would play a slow dance and everybody would come up. Mm-hmm. I'd play a bunch of fast music until they sat down. And I'd do some slow music. They'd get back up. And then they dance for a while. And then I'd
slide.
You know, or then I do the cha-cha slide or one of these dances, and it was
a shuffle.
And it was a night, you know, it was a full night of people dancing. And I know as a guest at a wedding that slow music is important. It's important because you want to dance with your wife, or maybe you want to dance me. You know, I was at a wedding recently with my daughter and my son, and my daughter had her boyfriend and my son had his girlfriend. I had a chance to dance with my daughter. I had a slow dance with my son's girlfriend, and it was a special moment. And I obviously got a chance to dance a couple of slow songs with Karen. So it's important to the guests to be able to do. Now, I'm not saying that I'm not that guy. I'm not the guy that sits down and then only comes up for the slow music. I was up there the whole night dancing with everybody, but the slow dance can be special, right? And look, from a DJ's perspective, and I just told you kind of from the guest perspective, from the DJ's perspective, it's a tool. It's a way to get people back to the dance floor. You know,
Absolutely.
and I, you know, the old saying is, look, I would always say to a DJ, look, if you don't know what slow dance to play, just look for a slow dance that starts with the letter U, and you can't go wrong. Unchanged melody or unforgettable. That's all you need to know.
You're funny. That's great. Look, I totally 100% agree. Look, you helped me. You helped me write the book about this. One of the main reasons
Actually, we all did
when we were teaching these DJs, especially these young DJs, about playing slow music was, and here's a perfect example. If we're going to have our CrossFit workout, am I going to work you for 4 or let's just say 3 hours straight without a break?
No,
Right.
No.
Right. But you're gonna have a build up and you're gonna have a slowdown, correct?
absolutely.
And it's the same thing. It's like the beats per minute. It's like the heartbeat. It's like you want to make sure that you climb the ladder and then you
Ebb
go
and
back
flow.
down the ladder. And as you go back down the ladder, you take a little break. And a 1 or 2 slow, like, and correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, I usually say at least play 1, if not 2 slow songs, right?
Yep, absolutely.
And then if you see that, wow, they're not dancing to my fast stuff, but there's a lot of older folks here and they're dancing to a lot of slow stuff. Guess what I'm going to play? I'm going to play a 3-song slow set.
Absolutely.
But with that said, it might be a medium, like Fly Me to the Moon, where you could dance a little faster or whatever, the way you look tonight, those things, right?
Yeah, and I'll give you another trend. I'm seeing less and less variety. Okay,
Ooh.
When in doubt, a Motown set will always work.
Right.
No matter who. At the wedding last night, the DJ played "Signed, Sealed, and Delivered" by Stevie Wonder.
Yep.
Dance floor was packed, and
Ooh.
everybody was singing it, including those that were maybe, 20, 25 years old. So I think sometimes DJs shy away from some of those old classics, and I'm not bringing this to the conversation as an older guy because I want it. I'm thinking as a DJ, and these weddings are not just 20 to 35-year-olds. There's 35 to 80-year-olds, but a lot of this music is popular. Twist and shout, I still hear shout a lot. There seem to be 3 or 4 oldies that you hear fairly often, but I don't think enough of it. And I'd also argue, play that set of 90s music. Play that set of Salt.
This is how we do it.
Yeah, the Boys to Men stuff.
Right.
Motown Philly and
Throw in a set of 90s and maybe 2000s.
Little Backstreet Boys.
There's a problem. Here's the problem I see for us as DJs. There isn't an abundance of new music that's come out, and I'm going to argue for the last 10 years, let alone the last couple of years.
I completely agree.
Right? So you're really limited in what's going to work or what's hot or what's new or what people are going to dance to. So what tends to happen is that the DJs tend to kind of condense the selection down to something that's smaller and smaller and smaller, and you tend to hear the same Pitbull song over and over and over again. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's not. But variety can be good. Variety and maybe a couple of slow dances. So if I were programming a wedding, I'd suggest all of those things.
Keep in mind, Hugh, as a photographer and a videographer, when we're out there, what we don't know is are those requests from the bride?
Right. And what you guys don't know is too, did the bride actually tell her disc jockey, I don't want you to play any slow songs. Now that is the point where the DJ has to speak up, just like she says, well, I want to hear these 300 songs. There's two flags right there.
Look,
one, you need slow song.
I think you bring up a very valid point. And here's the valid point. I've read reviews of DJs online that have said, my guest danced all night, but I hated my DJ because he didn't play my requests. So I know how important it is to make sure that you play, the songs that the bride. As a matter of fact, I'd argue, stick to the list. That's your clear path. Your clear path to success is taking the bride's requests and playing them. Now, you bring up a good point, Greg. You can add to the conversation the importance of doing some other things. Can I take requests? How about, there are a couple of slow dances that I think will really help the evening along.
I have a request.
Yeah.
I need to go get my power cord.
So go ahead. I'm just going to mute him.
So I think I think you're absolutely right. Today's bride will put together a long list of music, whereas 20 years ago they'd say, "Here's my first dance. Here are my parent dances, and you pick the rest."
Right. Now, wouldn't you call them a playlist bride, Hugh? Because they all have iPhones and they all have Androids and everything's a playlist.
I think it's a generation that grew up with iPads and access to thousands of songs on their phone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a different world that they live in. But
also, go ahead.
But it doesn't mean we can't, as DJs, make constructive suggestions.
Oh, of course. No. Yeah. One of the main things that we're getting a lot of is a bride's going to say, I'm just going to send you my Spotify playlist. And with that it really, a lot of DJs will argue. They'll say, some will say, well, I don't like it, and others like it. I actually think it's keeping it simple. It makes it that simple for the DJ because you could just go down, take them and put them right in your playlist. I mean, hell, one of our sponsors now, Crate Hackers, allows you to take that Spotify playlist, put it on a CSV, and then boom, it's now in a crate in Serato for you, just as easily as that. So you just do the conversion and you don't have to go one at a time. But back to what you said, if she has that Spotify playlist that has 30 songs, okay, and that's just for dancing. Okay, and I would like to touch upon too the question of how many songs you play in an hour. But she has 30 songs. I would like you to play all 30 of those songs. You play every one, right?
Right,
every one.
Absolutely, you play or certainly as many as you can.
Most of them.
I think the way around that is another trend where I rarely see a DJ play a song, fade into another song, play a song, fade into another song. It's always mixed. I think today's DJ has to mix. And if you're not mixing, I'd argue you're probably being a little lazy about DJing because you've got the equipment in front of you that makes it relatively easy to mix. So, I've always thought, I had Denon CD players with adjustable pitch and and I played with them all the time. And sometimes at weddings, seeing what I could do to mix two songs. I mean, it's right there in front of me. Why not? And too often I see DJs that just aren't doing any mixing, which I don't think is I believe that's part of why you're there.
You're a DJ. You are there to mix music.
Yeah, I mean that's what separates the professionals and the upper tier people from those that are anyone can mix, anyone can play one. I'm not even gonna say mix, play one song, fade into the other, fade in one song, fade in the, that's not DJing to me. Now, there are times where you're not mixing music, but when it comes time to open that dance floor, and I'd also argue that they're playing, maybe the beginning, a verse, a chorus, and then they're going into another one.
They're dropping in. They're doing a lot of drops, Hugh. Yep,
right.
Dropping in.
That's how you handle the 30 request list. You can get through 30 songs in about an hour if you do it that way.
Well,
right?
Even less.
Well, hold on. Then you're going to have that not only the client, but the person that comes up to you and says, "Why don't you play the whole song?" Right.
But I'd also say that there's a lot of excitement that generates.
Right.
And look, if I were doing this today, I would have that style. However, I'd keep my eye on the dance floor. And if people are really responding to something that I'm playing, I'll keep it going.
Yeah.
Exactly correct.
I'll go next verse, and I'll go another chorus. And if they're still jamming,
hey, they're still there. Hey,
right? You gotta program the music based on the reaction. You can't, you just can't.
The next thing you know, you're at the Copacabana.
Right. So and
everybody's singing at the Copacabana.
And look, the same is true, back in the day when, you'd play something like, I don't know, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, and nobody responds to it. There's nothing worse than standing behind your equipment with the 7-minute and 11-second Paradise by the Dashboard Light playing and nobody dancing. So you gotta get
I'm outside smoking a cigarette. So
yeah, well, if you're smart enough, you're not afraid, or I guess smart enough, but if you're not afraid, just stop the song. And I've literally said, well, thanks, John, for requesting that song, but unfortunately nobody's dancing to it. Let's play something that everybody's going to dance to, things of that sort. But it's the truth, though.
I don't know if you want to create an enemy in that situation.
Oh, I have no problem, because I've had a dance floor and John has busted my stones the whole night, and he's bothered me and tried to bully me to tell me to play his song. Damn right. Now anybody else, don't do as I do. Right. Be nice. Be nice to your clients.
Those are the those are the big trends. I'll give you one. I got a bonus one.
Okay.
A bonus. Hold on. Drum roll. Hold on.
Bonus DJ trend. You ready for this one?
Thanks, man.
Excellent. What happened to the introductions? What happened to DJs introducing people with their full name rather than just their first name? John and Mary. Please welcome Bill and Susie. Look. And
Becky and Bob.
And look, if you're gonna do that, okay, but don't do it for the parents. Give them the courtesy of the full name, right?
Mm-hmm. That's a great point.
The thing is, I understand why DJs avoid the last name. You can really get tripped up by some last names, and I used to write them out phonetically. It's funny. I'd write it out phonetically, and the person would go, "No, that's not how I spell it. No, I don't. I do not want to know how you spell your name. I want to know how I'm going to say it."
Yeah.
Tell me your name, douchebag.
Well, I think, in my opinion, I think a DJ that uses both first and last names for the introductions is a notch higher.
Professional, Mr. Riley. They're a professional.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sums it up, and why we're talking about this. What is a professional? That right there is one of the definitions of a professional DJ. Yes, you use the full names,
Phonetic and do it phonetically.
Phonetically, yeah. I mean, all these little points that we've touched upon are all part of being a professional. And you know what? We got less than 10 minutes. I did want to touch on one important thing, and you're the perfect guy to do this, Hugh. Okay. The relationship that a disc jockey has with the videographer and the photographer, because you've dealt with these guys as one of each. You were a DJ, you were a photographer, you were a videographer. please give us some knowledge about this.
I think the relationship between the three, by and large, is awesome. You know, I think everybody works together.
Okay.
I rarely have an issue with working with the DJ or a band or another videographer. I think by and large, regardless of where you're from, I rarely see any issues. What I will say is that from a DJ's perspective, what's most important for a photographer and videographer is to communicate, right? When are we going to do the bridal introductions? Are we doing the first dance after that? Are the parent dances following? Are they doing a toast? Of course they're doing a toast, but are they doing a blessing? Okay. Is somebody special coming up to say?
I don't know.
Dad gonna say something. What time is the cake cutting? Or just, you know, maitre d' goes over, the DJ says we're going to do the cake cutting in 10 minutes. DJ should then, you know, look, a lot of times I kind of watch that. I know, okay, it's time for the cake cutting. But it's not a bad idea if you have a moment to go, hey, we got the cake cutting in 10 minutes. You know,
Line everybody up.
To me, that's really all it is, you know, and hey, are you ready? You know, right before the bridal introductions, you know, you make sure the photographer, videographer are on the dance floor, ready to go. Hey, you ready to go? Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. You know, so, you know, allowing them to allowing the photographer, videographer to be prepared is really important. There was one other, when it comes, I'll give you kind of an interesting kind of an inside thing related to video and photo. Always remember that if it's time for the toast and I'm the videographer, let me back up. It's time for the toast and I'm the photographer. If you say it's time to do the toast, I'll kind of walk over and get there and be ready for it. If it's the videographer, if I'm the videographer, I grab my equipment and run over there as fast as I can to be ready to go because I got to get that first word.
Okay.
The photographer doesn't have to get any words. The photographer's just got to get a couple of shots to document that moment. So he can kind of walk up there. It's not that big of a deal. Videographer's got to sprint to make sure that he's ready to go.
And professionalism is a topic this evening. And as a videographer, professionalism, I would ask the person that's getting ready to do the toast, excuse me, sir, can you give me 15, 20 seconds?
Yeah.
I don't mind. I don't want to miss it.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Also, you also want to make sure, as a disc jockey, you want to check out as a disc jockey that you make sure that your photographer and videographer are everywhere before you do something. You should always think lights, camera, action, meaning that, you know, your lights are your videographer, your camera's your photographer. When it's time to do the cake, you got to say that. Make sure they're in the room. When it's time to do the introductions, do that. Make sure they're in the room. It's you as a DJ or an entertainer going that step further. Your videographer and photographer will thank you later because they didn't miss the shot and you didn't go speed along. If I had $1 for every time I've heard that a disc jockey did that, oh my God. But that it's utterly important. So do you guys want to add anything before we roll out of here?
I do want to add something. Hugh, you were talking about where, you know, you have to let a lot of people know. If the maitre d' says cake cutting's in 10 minutes, you have to now go and get the bride, get the groom, let them know they got 10 minutes. Is that okay with you? Mm-hmm. Oh no, I got to go upstairs and I'm like, how long do you need? 15 minutes. All right, let me go to the maitre d'. You have to control all that. Mm-hmm. You have the parent dances. If they're not done right after the first dance, hey sir, you're going to be dancing with you got to find them, mm-hmm. and you have to let them know you're going to dance with your daughter in 5 minutes. Is that okay with you? Oh my God, no! I got to go out in my car and get something. I have a surprise for her. How long do you need? You have to coordinate all that.
Sure.
You're not just back there playing music.
I got you.
Your today's DJ is much more of a wedding coordinator than they were years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No,
I've got one other thing to add.
Go ahead, buddy.
Here's kind of and maybe this is for a future broadcast, but and you could probably do a whole hour on phrasing, on how you say what you say during the course of how elegant you can make it, how clear, how concise, how fluid you can, and there's a lot of
enunciation.
But I'm going to give you one phrase that you really have to stay away from.
Okay.
All right. You know what that phrase is? At this time.
Ooh.
How you doing, Greggy?
At this time, ladies and gentlemen.
How you doing, Greggy?
Mine is ladies and gentlemen.
I will tell you this. I have always believed that when you're DJing, think of it this way. You are always speaking to the people, not at the people.
Good point.
You're thinking, right? You're always speaking to the people and not at the people. No. And you want that to be in a very clear, commonly spoken way. Greggy and I have never sat at a bar and had a drink, and then I turn to Greg and say, Greg, at this time, I think I need another beer. I would never use that phrasing in anywhere in my life.
Hooray for Hugh Riley.
Mm-hmm. No, you don't.
So what do you what should you use?
Nothing.
How about right now?
Yeah. But you have to be careful, because whatever you use, you'll use again and again and again and again.
That's exactly right. That's the point. I think once you start using at this time, you find a million places to use it. Now, why do DJs use it? They use it because it is thought to be a relatively elegant way of getting everyone's attention.
Correct.
Right? That's all it is.
Everybody goes, wow, did somebody say something?
It's a phrase to make me look like I'm well educated and elegant. Mm-hmm. Now, you can be well educated and elegant and not use that phrase. Right?
Good evening.
So I would say, Greg, your point is right. Remove it.
Yeah.
Remove it.
Right.
Remove it.
Get rid of it.
Yeah. Or say it once in a while. If you can't break that habit,
right,
that's okay. Just don't say it every time you get on the microphone.
Well, it's like the old thing when you had to introduce 25 people in a row. You don't want to say the same thing. Right. Ladies and gentlemen, or you don't want to say ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to say let's give it up for you. You don't want to say and a round of applause. You're going to want to find like a thesaurus that's going to tell you 5 or 6 different ways to say it.
Or please say hello to, or there are a variety of those phrases. Yeah, and I think you should consciously, jot those things down so that you can
important.
You can add some spice to what you say. But
perfect.
At this time was always a big one for me. And if we have a second, the reason I know that is that one of the places I DJ'd a whole lot. I knew the bartender well, and before the wedding, he turned to me and he said, "You, I can always tell you who the new guy is." Yeah, I could always tell you the guy that's just brand new in this business. Why? How can you tell? He said, he uses at this time over and over again. And I said, really? And I said, you know what? I never thought of it. I never thought of that as something that people rely, that you lean on, right? DJs will lean on it because it's a phrase that easily comes out, and it's the beginning of it. So that's where it kind of sparked this thought. Maybe at this time really isn't something that I should use. And then from that point, I kind of veered away from it. And I think every DJ should.
Yeah. Great point. Let's
finish the show with something that's really important to us, as far as I'm concerned, and to me. When are we going to jam?
With that being said, we'll talk about that in the green room. So anyway, was a great show tonight with a lot of great information. I do want to thank I want to thank everybody, especially our good friend Brett Matthews has stopped by to say hello. So thank you, Brett. Thank you, Young Fresh Prince, DJ Young Fresh Prince, Daddy Levon Thomas. We got Ralph was in the house tonight saying hello. Andrew Rothman. There's a whole bunch of people that said hello. Since I was running through it,
Nice.
And I'm the guest producer tonight. So I'm usually just a co-host, but Dave is the producer. He's the engineer. He handed me the keys to the kingdom, so there were certain things I was lax on, which is putting a lot of these comments up and saying, thank you and hello to everybody. But I wanted to thank all of those that came in. I also want to thank all of our different sponsors. We got RequestNow, we've got Poddex, Glowtronics, ProMobileDJ.com, NAME, the National Association of Mobile Entertainers. Don't forget, Glowtronics members, you get 15% off all your purchases with the code DJES15, 15% off all your purchases. Glowtronics code valid for all DJ Entertainment School members and In the Q podcast listeners. What else? Also, Peavy.
Don't forget about www.thepros.com.
There you go. Vince just said it. And also, thanks to Peavy Electronics and Crate Hackers for their love and support and their promotion as well. Thank you to Hugh Riley from www.thepros.com and also Wedding Bug Studios, the CEO, for some great information. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, this concludes another amazing episode of In the Q podcast with Greg Curran, our special co-host, Mr. Vince Pisick, and our guest tonight, Mr. Hugh Riley. Thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to like our podcast, subscribe to get notified of future episodes. Follow us on social media at In the Q Podcast. If you would like to be a guest on our show, if you have ideas for a show topic, please email us at hello@intheqpodcast.com. See y'all next week, guys. Take care. Thank you, Hugh.
All right. Thank you, guys.
See, good evening and good